Hello everyone, Groskamp here from Team Infinity. I'm about to unbox and build this Infinity IF14 2 110 scale electric touring car right now. So let's see what's inside. Dear customer, welcome to World Championship Infinity. Stickers, manual, all the parts for the car from back A till back G, a top deck, a bumper, and the most important, the chassis. So I will start from the manual, and we'll start with back A, and that's the differential. Back A, differential, and the front spool. Starting with the differential, I use 8000 for default diff oil. It's a good compromise, and 500 shock oil to grease the steel shafts inside. So, and the O-ring as well. So we first gonna fit the O-ring inside the diff, and the bearing for the diff is in the ball bearing bag. The outdrive comes with a pin and an O-ring to lock it, and always check if this is smooth. A little bit of play. Now the other side, do the same, a drop of silicone oil on the O-ring. The outdrive, the pin, and the O-ring. So put the big gear inside, and now comes the trick. Put the weight scale and put it on 0, and we need about a 1.4 gram of silicone diff oil to have the right amount of oil inside. If there's too much oil in the diff when you're running, the diff will lock up too much. So that's why around 80% has to be full. So 1.4 gram, that's the right amount of oil. Now we put on the small gears. And the O-ring. Put on the big gear on top. Don't forget the O-ring. And always make sure that this edge matches with this. So with the differential, nothing major. Just make sure you don't over tight the screws. So now the front spool. This is fairly easy. You can use aluminium screws, of course, for this. It's nice, lightweight, but I built it as a kit, so I use this standard steel screws. Don't over tight again. And now comes the outdrive. This is a 10mm steel screw, and again, don't over tight. So this was the assembly of the diff and the spool. So next up is back B, the shocks. Let's see what's inside. Springs, shock cap, spring holders, O-rings, piston, shock body. First I always disassemble the plastic and check if it's smooth, otherwise take a small knife and make it smooth. So everything is spread out on the table, and first I'm gonna put the piston on the shock shaft, and this is a whole new system. Put the shim and put the piston on top, and this design now is with the little screw. So the advantage of the screw fixing the piston is that you can have more volume in the shock. Don't over tight. So the assembly of the piston on the shock shaft is done. So now it's time to put the O-ring inside the shock body, and we do it with a small drop of silicone oil. Again, 500 for the shock. It's a good default. One O-ring, white cap, and the aluminium. So now we put the O-ring inside the adjuster nut. Put a little bit of silicone again and screw it on the shock body. So that's done. Now I'm gonna put the shock shaft inside the shock body and check if it's smooth and free. So now I'm gonna assemble the shock ball end, and first I'm gonna make some thread, and I do that with a 5mm screw in and out. So there's thread now in the plastic, makes it more easy to put on. Have the shock shaft tool and put it on the shock shaft, and I usually have it around 9.5mm. Just put the shock oil inside the shock, and for this one I use 500. Usually we are between 450 and 525, so around 500 is fine. As you can see, if you put the silicone inside, you have some air. It's a handmade shock stand, no problem, it does the job. So now I wait till the air is out of the shock. In the meantime, you can do the rest of the shocks. And move the shock up and down to let the air come out quickly. And fill the shock up almost to the edge of the shock body. Now the air is all out of the shock, so we're gonna close the shock. I usually use no rebound, so I push the shock end all the way up, put the piston as high as possible. I take the shock bladder, put it on top, and let the shock bleed. Take away the oil, take the shock plastic cap and close it, and hold the shock end all the way to the shock body and close it. This is how you make zero rebound. So push it in, and it stays. So now we have to put the ball nut in the plastic of the shock. Quite a handy tool. You can also do it with the pliers, but make sure it's always flat, make sure it's free. So the shock is built. The only thing what I do now is I'm gonna put the spring adjuster all the way to the top and try to get the white arrow exactly in the middle with the cap, so you always know where you are when you adjust the ride height. So you're gonna, now I make 1, 2, 3 laps, and that's my starting point for the ride height, and I will do that with all 4 shocks. Now I'm gonna put the spring on, the spring retainer, and it's done. That was the assembly of the shock.